usually want to speak when we save the questions for the end. I think it's usually the best way to do it. So, Robert, you want to start?
Robert is here.
Nora Johnson, board member.
Hi, I'm Rachel Sabella. I'm the Director of Government Relations at Food Bank for New York City.
Christian Cordova, board member.
Rashida Latif, Advocacy Coordinator at Westside Campaign Against Hunger.
Carmen Carr, Gardner Simon, Government Director.
Jose Luis Sanchez, Program Manager at City Meals on Wheels.
Joel Berg, Executive Director, New York City Coalition Against Hunger.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. My name is Cecile Noel. I'm the Executive Deputy Commissioner for HRA, for Emergency Intervention Services, which includes CBAC and it's SNAP out.
I'm Pastor John, I'm pastor of West End Presbyterian Church and Associate Executive Director of Insuficiency.
Shelley Fine, board member.
Matt Rosenberg, Chair of the Committee of my co-chair, Catherine, could be here tonight. And the emergency. We can start. The first person who wants to speak from City Meals on Wheels, Luis, Jose Luis.
Sure, not a problem. So thank you all for having me here today. I'm going to speak, hopefully very briefly, on possibly the most vulnerable and Community Board 7, the frail, homebound elderly, your neighbors here that we serve. So about City Meals on Wheels, just looking at my notes really briefly, we were founded in 1981. We are a private 501c3 charity that works in a public-private partnership with DIFTA, the Department for the Aging. DIFTA funds Meals on Wheels Monday through Friday, and City Meals fundraises from the public sector, from individuals in the public sector, and we fund weekend holidays and emergencies. Actually, it's great because we contract with the same agencies that DIFTA contracts with. It's the same deliverer going to the doors of the meal recipients. It's the same people overseeing the meals and everything. And actually, Goddard Riverside is one of our contracted sites. We have 33 throughout New York City. We feed 18,000 plus homebound elderly who need to be age 16 or over to be part of our services. Our services are free, although time to time a voluntary contribution will be asked from the community-based organization, and that's just to help them recoup costs. But if an individual chooses not to give or cannot give, that as long as they're eligible, meaning that they're 16 over and homebound, there's no impact to delivery. So we really want to be there for the homebound elderly in New York City. And again, like I said, we feed 18,000 plus throughout the 5 boroughs. We fund annually now we're about 2 million meals annually. Talking specifically about, we also have, a very large volunteer corps. Actually, in the last fiscal year, we had 19,000 volunteers who provided over 67,000 hours of service. And the volunteers volunteer 365 days a year. They're not just the days our meals go out. And the volunteering takes a whole different subset. It can be delivering meals, it can be senior chat where they're calling the homebound senior at home, it can be senior script because we receive a lot of letters, so they're writing back to our seniors. And anything that the volunteers can donate their time, we never say no to a volunteer. We always try to make an opportunity that's appropriate possible. Concerning Community Board 7, City Meals Fund feeds approximately 665 homebound elderly individuals in this district. A meal, to be very specific, consists of an entree, which is a 3-ounce protein or equivalent, grain, 1 to 2 servings, vegetable, 1 to 2 servings, fruit or fruit juice, 1 to 2 servings, milk and yogurt, 1 8-ounce serving, and a daily source of 100% vitamin C and a high source of vitamin A 3 times per week. It's important to note that because that is one very strict regulation because the meals have to adhere to federal, state, and municipal guidelines. Main goal meaning that the meal adheres to 1/3 of RDIs. We only get 1 meal per day. So it has to be nutrition 1/3 sound for the day because we only need 3 meals a day. Our meal recipients, more than 60% of City Meals recipients throughout the city are older than 80 years old. 23% are actually older than 90. More than 200 have lived at least a century. All of our recipients who are chronically disabled by conditions such as vision loss, diabetes, arthritis, or heart disease. Nearly all need assistance with walking. We estimate 66% use a cane, 39% use a walker, and 16% use a wheelchair. Our recipients are also isolated because they are homebound. It's difficult for them to engage in the community, but we want them to be in the community where they've built the community all their lives, and we want them to maintain that sense of dignity and independence. That's why we do what we do. And doing that, we have statistics that 57 report living alone. 40% report rarely or never leaving their homes, and 8% report having absolutely no one other than their daily deliverer to talk to, someone that they can communicate, which is something that we want to come back as well. And many or most are at risk for malnutrition. To talk about our programs briefly, we provide in this District 7 about 69,160 meals to be precise. In 2005, City Meals launched a friendly visiting program in Harlem, through which volunteers visit meal recipients in their home on a weekly basis to combat that isolation. Since the program was created, friendly visiting has expanded into the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and throughout Manhattan. Currently, volunteers are paired with 583 of their homebound elderly neighbors throughout the city. This is a service that's available to meal recipients in this district if they choose to do it. They just need to call us and we get them matched with volunteers. Another program that we have is a mobile food pantry, which provides grocery bags filled with supplementary shelf-stable meals to our nutritionally at most risk meal recipients each week. City Meals, for example, delivered 7,280 mobile food pantry bags in Harlem. And I say Harlem because right now we are only limited in terms of scope because of funding. We just don't have the funding to roll out this mobile food pantry throughout 5 boroughs, and the closest area here it would be Harlem, which does receive temporary funding. In 2011, City Meals launched a program to provide fresh produce to our meal recipients in addition to the regular delivery. So in addition to that fruit required by the meal, we're also delivering another fruit which we buy normally from growing by seed. So encouraging our local farmers. And again, I'm going back to the Harlem statistic, and we delivered in the last year about 14,000 bags of locally grown fruit and vegetables to the homebound elderly residents of Harlem. And again, we're only limited in terms of funding. That's why we can't branch into other boroughs. Talking about these limitations, one of the things we were asked to consider for this meeting was consideration for budget priority. Our meals cost $6.42. Funding for the 665 individuals in this district, to be very brief, a weekend day, so a Saturday or a Sunday, just one of those days, would cost $4,269.30. If you're talking about one full weekend, Saturday and Sunday, that costs us $8,538.60. For a month of weekend meals, that rises to $33,915. And City Meals itself considers this exponential investments in the community. In this district, for a full year of weekend, holiday, and emergency meals for the 665 frail age neighbors, we fund approximately around $594,510. That was the last fiscal year. It's a little to you, but it's coming into this district, yeah. City Meals relies on the generosity of the sponsors, its board of directors in the city of New York, and other designated gifts to cover administrative costs. Because we're able to rely on their generosity, this ensures that 100% of all public donations go directly to the preparation and delivery of the meal. So if someone from the public gives $1, that full dollar goes to the preparation and delivery of that meal. Any amount allocated to City Meals for the budget priority line item would greatly assist in our mission to ensuring the food security and welfare of your meal recipients. Suggested readings and action. I have some handouts to give out. Pretty much just a flyer where our general information is, and also the contact information that I'll hand out. And also on the following page, there's an infographic of a study. But let me just hand these out really quickly. Sorry. So on the front page is our flyer, but on the second page it's a little bit more interesting, especially that we were talking numbers and the cost of running the program. Meals on Wheels America, which is a national association of Meals on Wheels, did a national study with Brown University that was funded by the AARP Foundation, really looking at the costs and the benefits of Meals on Wheels. And if you see some of the key markers, the 600 participants in the nationwide study looked for improvement in mental health, improvement in self-rated health, reductions in the rate of falls, which is the number one cause of why people are institutionalized, improvement in feelings of isolation and loneliness, and reductions in worrying about being able to remain at home. So again, this investment that City Meals makes of over $594,000 a year, this is really a cost savings to the community. So that would be my suggestion. And the only other thing, really encourage individuals to write in support of Meals on Wheels programming to local, state, and federal officials, especially with regards to the authorization of the Older Americans Act, which hasn't been authorized just yet. And come out and volunteer with us. It's great to read all these statistics, but you won't get a sense of what we do and who we are until you're out there doing the living with us. If anyone that ever wants to go out, definitely feel free to do more than less.
I have two questions. Sure. First is, if someone goes out on the friendly visiting or the delivery, and they see something that's problematic, okay, the person's condition, or the conditions they're living in, or something in terms of relationships, what responsibility does that person have, or is that a part of what they're?
That's a great question, actually. I mean, I could be here all night about what we do, but we actually have worked with Human House for elder abuse, the DA's office of Manhattan, training volunteers and paid delivery staff on recognizing signs of elder abuse. All of our meal recipients also, when they come onto the program, everyone's assessed by case managers throughout the 5 boroughs who have caseloads with these individuals, and they would follow up. So if a volunteer goes out and sees something that, I always tell them, go with your gut feeling. If it doesn't feel right in your gut, definitely when you come back, report it back to someone like Carlene, and Carlene would report it to the case management, and they would take it from there. These are fully trained professional case managers. Like, that's another way where we are there for our seniors.
Okay. Second, is there an income eligibility?
No.
Just what the person says.
As long as they're 60 and older and are homebound, meaning that they can get out and engage in the community, they would be eligible for Meals on Wheels in New York City.
Hi, I'm Peter Arnson with Columbus Amsterdam Bid. If there's a disruption in the services, what happens? How do you alert the people, and is there some sort of secondary service that you can call on?
It's fantastic you asked that question too, so we can stay all night. But yeah, if you want to, Carly?
So maybe I should do my presentation,
Sure.
Because the
Yeah,
questions overlap.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's everybody's practice.
Right, so Dollar Riverside Home Deliveries. I'm going to read a little bit, so bear with me. So we address the issues of hunger and nutrition among our older adults living on the Upper West Side. And Dollar Riverside, the program, has its roots in 2 churches, ministries of 2 churches. St. Matthew, St. Timothy on 83rd, and St. Paul, St. Andrew. I've been told that Reverend in the 70s went to look for one of his older congregants at the hospital, and he discovered that the reason why his congregant was in the hospital, was admitted, was because of malnourishment. So from then on, he went on to start a ministry which produced a soup kitchen and a pantry, and they targeted their older congregants so that they had food. At around the same time, St. Matthew, St. Timothy, they started meals delivery program to their shut-in members. And so by 1983, the ministries were incorporated into St. Matthew's and Timothy Neighborhood Center as a full program, and it was called Westside Ecumenical Ministry to the Elderly, or we got a Riverside assumed management of the program in 2011. And so they dropped the WEME, and so the program was called God Riverside Home Delivery
By the way,
Meals.
Laura Jervis was the head of the media.
We'll say it again.
Laura Jervis, who was the head of the
Yes, when you're at St. Matthew's and Timothy.
yes, before that.
Before that, okay.
What did you say it's called now, God of Riverside?
Home delivered meals. So I'll just touch on eligibility criteria a little bit more. You have to be 60 years and older, and you have to have a physical or cognitive impairment, which does not allow for you to cook or to go shopping on a regular basis. You also have to have a economic needs, meaning if your income is limited, have limited support from family or friends, and have limited or inadequate formal support for food preparation. We are funded by DIFTA and City Meals on Wheels, and they do perform annual program and nutritional assessments at a program. And our kitchen is subject to unannounced visits by the Department of Health. As Jose mentioned, we get most of our volunteers come through City Meals on Wheels, but we also get corporate groups from our development department, and we have had volunteers from the food bank. We've gotten some volunteers from WISCA and New York Cares. We also have a relationship with Mid-County Court, so they send individuals who are working on community hours, and they work in our kitchen. We also get work groups from YAI, Synergia, and AHRC, which is formerly FIX, and volunteer opportunities for meals delivery and for food preparation. And so within the last 4 years that I've been there, we've seen like a 10% increase in meals enrollment, and all our referrals come through case management. So we're not involved with any outreach. Exclusively all our clients come from case management. And so typically referrals will come from discharge planning, social services at hospitals, nursing homes, adult protective services, and senior centers. So food insecurity is not a discrete problem. Its most noticeable manifestation is in poor nutrition, which leads to compromised health condition. And so we start seeing increased visits to the emergency room and admissions to the hospital. We also see an exacerbation of chronic illnesses, impaired functioning, and dementia. And with the numbers of older adults projected to increase greatly in the coming decades, doubling from 2000 to 2040, it's likely that the number of food insecure elders will grow, thus creating human and policy challenges for society, as well as the cost for healthcare. For many of our clients, the daily freshly prepared meal is their major meals, and as they are not able to stand up to cook or to go out shopping, and as Jose mentioned, we're held by strict nutritional guidelines. All our meals, all our entrees are monitored and standardized by our nutritionists, and it meets a third of their daily nutritional needs. Recent policy changes have restricted the eligibility of clients, and in 2011, about 100 of our clients, policy changes made by DIFTA, but 100 of our clients got knocked off the survey. And so God of Riverside mobilized, and they got an article printed in the New York Times, and we also secured funding through Gottman Foundation to do a research study in collaboration with the Center for Long-Term Care Research and Policy. And so the publication results are here, so I will pass this out for everyone. I won't go through all the statistics as it's included there. I'll just do a synopsis of basically the findings. Sorry. So the Nourish First study sought primarily to ensure older adults at greatest risk receive the services they need to live independently in the community. Equally important, the study adds to the existing body of knowledge about elderly and food security with an eye for impacting public policy. The study's findings showed that New York City's oldest community residents often suffer from food insecurity, have serious health problems, and have multiple unmet social needs. In response to this finding, Goddard went and secured the 2-year grant for a social worker. And so the social worker's main role is to go out and find the most vulnerable of our clients so that their needs, their food security, as well as their unmet social service needs are met. I just want to mention that recently we formed a collaboration with WISCA, where we send out twice a year these service surveys and asking clients to identify which service they are in need of. And we just added getting food from a food pantry. And so since September, we've had about 5 enrollment. And so we're able for the social worker to go in and do the assessment, turn in the paperwork to WISCA, and we do some clients will have their home health aide come to the pantry to pick up the meal. But because we have deliverers, we have vans, we're able to also deliver a meal as well as the meal package from the pantry. So we're really excited about that collaboration. So I find that there's so little funding allocated. I come from, I have a background in child welfare, and when I see just how much is available for children and families, and so little is available for older adults. Yeah, we're in this neighborhood. We're seeing our population, our community residents age, and we want to be able to provide for our clients. I so much, right? The youth and children might be our future, but our elders made it so that our present exists, that we're here. So we can't forget them in our movement.
We're going to be here for so much longer.
Right.
Whether they like it or not.
Right.
So
So,
important.
did I answer your question, or you?
No, I mean, you answered a lot of things, but one of my concerns is if there's a disruption in service through snowstorm, disaster, or whatever, what happens then to the 645 people that are on in Community Board 7? Do you communicate with WISCA? Do you mobilize your volunteers? I mean, if people are not able to go out in cars because there's a lack of gasoline or because the roads are shut down, something like that, what are the alternatives?
So for Meals on Wheels in New York City, the emergency provider is City Meals on Wheels. We work with Mayor's office and food access, something and we have a warehouse in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where we construct boxes, shelf-stable boxes. Nutritionally, the boxes have 3 meals inside. However, it's not actually 3 meals. Because of the regulations we have, we still adhere to those regulations with those boxes. Because if we're giving something to our meal recipients who have weakened immune systems, we want to make sure what we're giving them is exactly what they need for the day, and especially in an emergency. So the boxes are really light. I should have brought one with me. But what we do is DFTA will let us know, and I mean all of our agencies monitor the weather as well, all of us. And when we make the announcement to our meal providers that we have the boxes available, at any one point in time, our warehouse has 1,000 boxes ready to go outside of our warehouse. We have enough food items inside our warehouse at any one point in time to construct 16,000 boxes on the go. So we're really good with responding to emergencies. I mean, I think our biggest learning experiment, shall we say, was Hurricane Sandy, which really drew how vulnerable the city is to these kinds of interruptions. But luckily, the network for Meals on Wheels, the community-based organizations, DIFTA and City Meals, were able to respond. The community-based organizations, most often, they pre-deliver. So instead of delivering one meal, they'll deliver 2, 3, even in some cases 4 meals to the meal recipients to make sure that they have food in the home, as well as our box, which has nutritionally 3 meals inside. Also, every year in advance of the winter, City Meals constructs and pays UPS to deliver 21-pound boxes of shelf-stable food items, and this box is delivered to all 18,000 plus meal recipients in the city. So all meal recipients in the city receive this box, just in case the teams can't get out for a day or two. Okay.
All this, so is there any difference between CERT and the show is going to be organized with CERT and the
so we've done something else. We respond to people, particularly elderly and people who are homebound during emergencies like Sandy and other. But there hasn't been a coordination. It's just been people said, okay, let's get neighbors to prepare food. Let's go out. I have this person in my building, the people in that building. So it's that, makeshift thing. But maybe there's something we should talk about. Yeah, definitely. We have literally thousands of emergency response team members in our community alone, about 25 active ones. So they're in good hands. They know how to respond. They train in psychological first aid and dealing with people who are in trouble, who have issues, how to approach people disabled. All that training is a part of. It's not just how to respond to an emergency, but how to respond.
But our mission is also to the elderly. So even if you have a building whose gas is knocked off, or an explosion like that happened in Harlem, we do respond with these boxes. We can respond with these boxes. So that's something to bear in mind.
That's good.
I'm a little confused about something. Do we deliver only on weekends?
We fund weekend, holiday, and emergency meals. DIFTA, the Department for the Aging, funds Monday through Friday.
So that's also those meals on weekends.
Yes. Yes. So it's 2 sources of funding streams for Carmel's program.
This is a name for what we do is home delivered meals, and City Meals is Meals on Wheels. Because we're funded by both, we can go by the name of both.
And just to ensure that Mrs. Smith, for example, who's a meal recipient, has meal 365 days a year.
Next we hear from the president of New York City, Isabella.
I'm actually wondering, since we have a local perspective, if Rashida should talk.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
well,
kind of
then-
planned our presentations
good.
together. I have a PowerPoint if there were even a good, or is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, if I could, if I know which device it's.
We have a tech genius.
I need this one. I was good. Yeah. I keep asking for it.
Do you want me to put it in? There's a jack here.
No, that's not it. She said I have the camera here, I have the projector there,
Oh, okay.
and I don't need the mouse.
Okay.
Okay, I wish.
You might want to dim the lights. too. Oh, okay.
Is it community board 7 presentation? No?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a really good focus.
Back to you. Sure. Just, and the last question, what would you like from me?
Well, funding, I mean, we, with the numbers growing so much and the amount that we get per meal has not risen. And, we have deliverers who are being paid just a little bit above minimum wage. And they are going out when it's very hot, it's very cold. So, general funding for the program, and I think that's what we need.
There's a tentative questions about it.
Yeah.
When you least expect it.
Yeah, but that one is, that's easy. You can just. There we go. Yeah.
Hi. So, again, just to introduce myself to everyone, I'm Sheila Latif. I'm the advocacy coordinator at the Westside Campaign Against Hunger. And I've just prepared a pretty brief overview of our organization, the services that we provide, and some of the advocacy things that we're working on right now, and some of our programs that are expanding. So we are the country's first supermarket-style food pantry, in which our customers are called customers instead of clients, for example, because they come to our supermarket and shop as they would in any other supermarket. And through this process, people are dignified, and their status as people who are living with food insecurity or living in poverty, which is a very diverse population of people, and what's impacting New Yorkers as those who are food insecure. It's becoming more and more diverse. It's not just seniors or women and children, but it's adjunct professors now. It's growing more and more. So WISCA is a food pantry in which you can come and shop the way that you would at a regular supermarket. And so at WISCA, we emphasize health and nutrition. So we don't want for food insecurity or poverty to impact your access to not only food, but healthy food, in the same way that we don't want for you to feel as if you cannot choose your own food and what's best for yourself and your family. So we offer an array of fresh fruits and vegetables, proteins, wholesome grains, and everything that we offer on our shopping cards, which is determined by family size. Anytime a new customer comes, they see both our social service counselors, and they're also given the opportunity to shop. So the shopping cards that people are given are determined by their household size, by the number of people they're able to provide documentation for. And everything that we offer is low in sugar and low in sodium. However, we do have an extras section on each shopping cart. And so extras is an item that, for example, is comprised of a donation that we were given. If someone just wants to donate soup that might be high in sodium, we don't make that a part of our regular shopping cart. The regular portion of our shopping cart, we make that a part of our extras. Sometimes people just like a treat, and, so they do have the option of picking that. So, and to do so, our food is donated by City Harvest and Food Bank for New York City. They are our two major organizations with which we have very strong partnerships that donate our food, and the rest we purchase. So So again, we provide social services. So customers, while they wait, aside from being able to get a light breakfast, and when we give breakfast, we don't give out sugar. So you can bring your own sugar for your coffee, but we do give coffee and some milk options. But aside from a light breakfast, you can do yoga in the social hall. You will wait inside, as opposed to sometimes there are really long lines outside, and that's really not very beneficial for the people who need to wait, especially if it's inclement weather. But aside from that, you can enroll and recertify in food stamps and receive advocacy for your entitlement benefits. We have a chef training program in which people apply and are selected for a chef training program, and they learn culinary skills. And this is something that puts them in a better position to get a job in a field that they're interested in. We give legal and job placement assistance, and we also have a place in the back of our social hall, which we call our mini Macy's, where you're able to get donated clothing and household items of various different kinds. And we also advocate for anti-poverty policies at the local, state, and federal level. And here you see a rundown of our customers. So approximately 12,213 individuals residing in the Community Board 7 catchment area shop at the Westside Campaign Against Hunger. And I have our map, which shows where our customers are coming from in the city. And so you'll see on our map the areas that are more red than others. And that's where a good chunk of our customers come from, as they live along the 2 and 3 lines, which feed directly into us where we are on the 1 line. And you can see that there's a high concentration of customers that are coming to us from Washington Heights and the Bronx. These are areas that are known for having what's called food deserts. So at Vista, we have 4 advocacy principles, and food is obviously one of them. We want for all people to have access to healthy food. Income as well. We definitely know that the minimum wage in this country is very problematic for those who are facing food insecurity, and is a contributor to those facing food insecurity. And so we advocate that if people are receiving more money, they'll definitely have more money to buy food. Housing, especially because if you are rent burdened, you are absolutely more likely to be food insecure. And also healthcare. A good chunk of our customers are food insecure because they are choosing between paying a medical bill and paying for food. And this is especially the case when we have for our elderly customers as well. So another way in which we want to be innovative and meet the needs of those who are food insecure is that although we do have a high concentration of people who come to us from food deserts, we actually want to establish mobile food pantry sites in food deserts, and we are particularly interested in doing so in Washington Heights and the Bronx. So this is one way in which we would be raising awareness about our brand, which promotes dignity, choice, self-sufficiency, self-reliance. And it is also a way for us to reach seniors, some of whom may be homebound and differently abled. And so I encourage for all of you all to get involved. Particularly, don't be strangers, because I do tours, the Director of Operations does tours, and our Director of Development does tours as well. So we invite you to come, have a tour of our supermarket style pantry, learn more about us, and see everything happening in real time, all the hustle and the bustle, and people shopping. You can also volunteer with us. You can definitely sign up to advocate for with us. I've established an e-advocacy list as well as a student e-advocacy list. We have a bunch of high school students, some even younger, who come in sometimes in groups. Sometimes they trickle in from school with their friends because they have to meet community service requirements. And they find us on their own. It's really inspiring and good that we don't have to chase them down, but they find us. And I'm looking into ways on how to engage our students in advocacy opportunities. And of course, you can donate because we accept food, clothing, and of course, money. So you can visit our website about how you can donate, we have a special donated goods list, which is on our website, in which you can see the types of goods that we encourage for people to donate to us, namely soups that are low in sodium or fruit in their own natural juices or stuff. So things like applesauce that doesn't have sugar added to it, things of the like. So, any questions?
Would you rather have a private or it's more effective?
You know, I'm gonna say cash.
My other question is, better than anything from the federal government?
I'm sorry?
You still get anything from the federal government? There's several kinds of products, kinds of different products.
So I'm actually really, really new in my role, and there's not so much that I can advise on. So what?
You could keep that.
Yes.
So TPAC is the federal funding source, so it's the Emergency Food Assistance Program, as opposed to the city's, the Emergency Food Assistance Program. And that is the federal.
Do you get money from the FEMA Emergency Food Shelter Program? I think you do.
Yes,
through United Way.
they are, well, they receive it now.
Yes.
No, no, but.
And that's yeah, but HIPNAC is state.
And you
FEMA's
also
federal, so
get,
you also
and you
get
also
some.
get, absolutely. That's absolutely.
Shelley?
For 15 years, I was on the Area Policy Board, and advisory board, and we allocated money to COSA and SOGA through the community service pathway. We know to receive, still receiving money for operational expenses from the community service pathway.
I am not sure on that. I cannot advise on that.
Because you don't know, at a certain point that I lost out track of what was going on with that.
So I can definitely give you my business card, and you can follow up with me tomorrow, and I could, better advise on that. The one thing I did definitely want to share with the group in terms of, an area in which WISTA could, use support from Community Board 7, and really this is vis-a-vis the Lunch for Learning campaign, is that I've brought, I believe I shared it with you, Marilyn. There is a mass social media campaign in which we are trying to collect a huge number, up to 100, a huge number of individual Twitter accounts. And we are adding it to what is called a head talker. And so on December 10th, Lunch for Learning, of which WISCA is a very strong partner, along with Food Bank for New York City, we are looking to launch a mass social media campaign to remind the mayor of his campaign promise in 2013 during his candidacy to use funds to provide universal free lunches in all New York City public schools. So I've come because I'm very interested in encouraging you all to add your individual Twitter accounts to the Head Talker. And so I have information on the Head Talker.
I'll just say one quick thing on the federal part of the issue, advocacy-wise, is that a lot of organizations don't even know by the time the money's filtered in 3 levels, it's federal. I'm assuming a lot of your money, the DFTA money, you identified DFTA money, I'm not saying you're wrong, but originally a fair amount of it was federal, was it not?
We do cash in lieu program. So actually, City Meals raises money because we report some of us back to DFTA, and the guests report it back to the tax, and we get reimbursement that way, but that money goes back to.
Right, but I'm saying some of DFTA's original money, I believe, came from the federal government. Right.
But DFTA's pot is different from the City Meals pot. 2 budgets are separate. We fund the same organizations.
So you fund God, it doesn't fund you?
Yeah, we fund Colorado. And the federal money would go to DFTA, not City Meals. No, DFTA does give City Meals a grant, but that's an administration grant to help us cover our administrative costs so that we can fulfill our mission that 100% of the public dollar goes to corporations and cities. So we raise money from the public. That's our number 1 source of funding.
Okay.
Next we have Any opposed, unanimous.
Well, you're gonna present.
Oh,
I'm happy to go in whatever order is appropriate.
going forward.
George, you have the more So the Westland Presbyterian Church, this lens I'm going to speak about is just a little different from the other church here in the United States. Coming from the perspective of a small congregation on the west side in this district, so we find ourselves addressing food insecurity in a number of different ways. We're a very small congregation, about 85 members, on 105th Street around town. We have a small food pantry, and it's got very limited hours. Tuesdays and Thursdays for 1 hour, 11:30 to 12:30. We require a referral, and people are allowed to visit the pantry only once a month. We're serving an average of about 50 people a month, and with that number increasing in the late summer into the fall, into this time of year. We serve a mix of individuals and families. Every month we find we're serving about 15 new people among those 15. So we have an expense in funding this food pantry. The pantry is non-perishable food that will make several meals. That's what we provide. We spend about $1,800 on that in a year. So that doesn't sound like a lot in a calendar year. But in addition to that, as a church, as a congregation, this would not be untypical of other congregations on the west side. We fund other food pantries. So we send funding to Scout. We send funding to 4 or 5 other food pantries, in neighboring churches and around this area. The congregation has a commitment to distribute beyond the life of our own congregation 20% of the congregation's gains in the year. And a good quarter of that, so 5% overall, is spent on food insecurity questions, such as supporting food stamp, other feeding programs. In addition to that, our experience is that people who come to church on a Sunday, who are visitors, or sort of on the fringe of the congregation, it's noticeable on any given Sunday, there are always several people whose principal interest is in having the meal after the service. There's a meal served every Sunday. It's just part of the regular life of the church. And it's very noticeable that there are several people every Sunday I'm not questioning the desire to be at church, but they're clearly wired for the meal that's going to be served after. It's just a sort of informal expression of what food insecurity is like in the neighborhood. So we're spending, 5% plus $1,800, and plus what's provided on Sundays. It's really a significant percentage of what we're spending in the course of the year at the time of the life of our church on addressing food insecurity. And at the same time, we know it's palpable to us as the pastor and as congregants that are close to the functioning of the church. That we just can't possibly address the need. The number of people that are now, percentage of people that are now living below the poverty line, and that being represented in food insecurity as is almost first expression. It's a very sad reality we're addressing, and we're doing very small part. We're now part, but we're doing a very small thing. And we're partnering with others that are doing what they can in charitable ways. But the need is enormous, and I don't think we're even scratching the surface actually of the need. Not just speaking for myself, it's speaking for a collective charitable efforts. It's my perspective from the local church.
It's also the purpose that it's significant collections and explanations, so we don't have to fund about.
No, we don't. We're not.
By choice, so
No, we're just not organized. We're not a large enough scale to draw something like City Harvest or from other groups. We don't meet the requirements.
what I mean is that, say, small grants foundation. So it's getting riverside, non-west, $5,000. Involved there. That's no.
Alistair, about how many people do you refer people to WISCA on a regular basis?
Yes.
About how many would you guess a month or a year or a week? I don't know, whatever.
Well, people who come to the country, we provide them a list and what other places they can find to.
We do that at WISCA too. We give a pamphlet of other places where people can go.
But you require referrals,
Yeah,
right? I know Alistair does that, but WISCA used to.
I don't know that we require referrals. You can walk in from wherever and we will have you, yeah, we can, so you can be from a different state or you can be a non-citizen or.
People are referred to or they just walk?
No, they're referred to us from other places that that vouch for their need.
What's your?
Generally, other churches, other churches and other programs. That are also connected to it.
Is there something that includes people who come to your church and belong to that church?
No. And in the days when we had a community meal, just to speak anecdotally for a moment, the reason why we stopped our community meal was because it would happen on a Saturday, particular Saturday of the month. People would go to our community meal and they would go to 3 other community meals on the same Saturday. And they would just basically load up on food on that one day, which would be the healthiest way to take in food. That's what people were doing because that's when food was provided. So we just stopped having community meals in that particular form. Just have it as part of the regular scheme.
Rachel?
Good evening again. My name is Rachel Sabella. I'm the Director of Government Relations at Food Bank for New York City. I want to, again, thank you for having me here this evening. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to meet with the group. Also happy to see so many of our partner organizations and friends around the room. We were lucky enough last week, we had our legislative breakfast and we honored Commissioner Banks and HRA for the strong partnership with our Freedom from Want Award. So we're really thrilled to have these partners in this work. I'm going to do more of a larger citywide perspective and a little bit about what Food Bank does. Food Bank is the largest major hunger relief organization in New York City. We have a 90,000 square foot warehouse on Hunts Point Market where we're making deliveries to more than 1,000 charities. So food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, schools, 5 days a week. In addition to that work, we do benefits access work. I'm going to leave you with some flyers and information to leave downstairs in your office. But we do SNAP outreach. So we have hotlines, we have staff going out, we have people partnering with community organizations to ensure people are hearing about SNAP and they're signing up or they're determining if they're eligible. We also have Healthcare Navigator. So I'm going to put a plug for that. If anybody is looking for health insurance now, we've got the open shopping, but that's something that we can do as well. We have navigators on staff that can help people really understand that marketplace and help them to get those healthcare services. In addition to that, we do nutrition and health education. So we work in schools. We do a program called Cook Shop, ensuring that children, families, communities are learning about healthy recipes, learning how to cook. We have a program called Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables, where we have nutrition educators and nutritionists going into pantries and soup kitchens and teaching those lessons. Someone comes in, they get a bag of food they've never seen before. I know that happens to me all the time. When I go to the green market, I don't always know what's there. But we have people that are helping them, learning to cook this healthy food, really bring it home and learn how to share that with their families. We also have a program. We have one of the largest free tax programs in the country. I'm going to do a plug for tax season coming up. Last year, we did 85,000 tax returns for low-income New Yorkers for a total of $141 million in tax returns and credits. It's a great program. It's something a lot of people don't know about. It's great for seniors. It's great for people working just different jobs and different opportunities. You can go in, have your taxes done for free. It's also a safe place to go, because we also all hear the horror stories about someone that went up to the pop-up shop in their neighborhood and was charged $1,000. That's not what we want to do. We want to make sure people are getting funding to put back into their pockets. When they come for our tax program, they're also just getting screened for SNAP to see if they're eligible, and they're being connected to other services. So whether it's a pantry, whether it's housing, but we really want to make sure people are getting those services that they need. So that's just a little bit of the overview of Food Bank. I did bring a lot of paper. One of the things I'm going to pass around to you is our meal gap map. And what this shows is really a measure of missing meals in New York City. So in New York City, the number is 241 million missing meals. In Manhattan, it's 43.6 million. And if we're looking at this particular district, we're looking at approximately 4.2 missing meals each year. So just to be clear, that is not a literal number. It's looking at what people's diets fall short of, looking at the questions, USDA, determining that. What's important, if you look at this map, there are missing meals throughout New York City. I can also tell you what I find very interesting when I meet with city council members. 9 times out of 10, they look at their district and then they immediately go to the Upper West Side. And they say, wait, there are missing meals there too. And I think it's really telling, and I think it really shows this is a problem facing the whole city. It's not facing just in small pockets or certain areas, it is the entire city. So I think this map really can tell that story. I also have for you, and I can get this out at the end, we have our list of pantries and soup kitchens member agencies that we work with in the district, so we have that as well. In terms of research and data, last week at our legislative breakfast, we released a new survey of our member agencies called Hunger Clip NYC, Bridging a City's Monthly 5.3 Million Meal Loss. What that meal loss is talking about is if we take a step back, 2 years ago there were cuts to the SNAP program at the federal level. And what that meant, currently due to those costs, in New York City we have lost 116 million meals just due to SNAP, just due to those SNAP cuts. That's a tremendous amount. And it's something that we are continuing to draw attention to. We want to hopefully reverse the change as we talk to elected officials, but we want people to pay attention to that. This report talks about that, but what this research brief also does is a survey of our member agencies. Some of the highlights in here, I'll pass this around, I'm sorry, hopefully I'm not overloading you, is we found 90% of our member agencies have seen an increase over the last year. That's a tremendous amount of people. We've also seen that 49% of them have reported running out of food, have had this happen. So what we want to do is work together with you, with our other partners, with our government agencies to reverse that trend with this benefit. So I think passing out this information is really important. My last thing, you asked for things you can ask for in the budget. We love that question. Our top priorities for you would be funding for the city's Emergency Food Assistance Program, EFAP. Last year, we were very grateful that the administration and the council prioritized anti-hunger, and we got a baseline increase in funding for that. While it's great, we need more. So what we are asking for, and I also brought you, because I brought you paper, is copies of our policy priorities document. So we have this at the city, state, and federal level. But what we're asking for to the city is gonna be $15.3 million for them to put into this program. I would also say for your priorities to really put the universal school meals in there. As Rashida said and talked about lunch for learning, we are really excited to see universal meals in middle schools. There's a lot more students in New York City that could benefit from this. So that's something else. The other two things I would say is also there are 2 city council initiatives that support this work. One is the Food Pantries and Technical Assistance Initiative that supports funding to pantries, and it also supports SNAP outreach funding, which I think is really important in this. And then there's also an initiative under the DYCB budget that's just called Food Pantries. It gets confusing, that's why we say the 2 different agency names. But that provides operating support to emergency food providers throughout the city. Last year, the boroughs were able to have funding that they were then able to allocate and to really make a difference to community organizations. So I want to keep that really short. I know there's more people to talk, and I gave you a lot of paper. So what happened 2 years ago was when the cuts that were included as part of the child nutrition reauthorization, they took funding from SNAP in order to pay for new programs. And that contributed to it. There was also cuts to SNAP tied through the last farm bill as well. So all of that adding up has really caused a loss. Yes.
The school meals, I know the middle schools were given much.
Standalone middle schools, yeah, very important.
Very limited, very limited.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about lunch across what about breakfast?
So for breakfast, we absolutely support that as well. Right now, what they are doing is doing a 3-year phase-in of breakfast in the classrooms into standalone elementary schools. So what we would like to see that really expanded, and to really again continue to see the priority put on that.
So number 1 priority, lunches.
Number 1 priority is funding for anti-hunger programs. I think I would never want to pit one program against the other. And I think all of these serve different populations. I think that's really important too. When we think about hunger, it faces everyone. I mean, we're living in a city where 1 in 5 children are relying on an emergency food provider, 1 in 5 seniors, 3 in 10 veterans rely on a food pantry or soup kitchen. So we're really seeing that this is a problem affecting everyone. So we say support all of those programs.
Just to be clear, every public school in New York City has school lunch. It's just a question of removing the paperwork, which we think would increase participation. And participation in elementary schools is close to 100%, and it gets lower as the kids get older. And there are complicated reasons, including.
So you mean that a school, let's say a middle school, can pass on the lunch program?
No.
So what do you mean eliminate the paperwork?
So basically, under federal law, there are 3 categories of meals usually. There is free meals if you're 130% of the poverty line or below, which is roughly the same level for SNAP. If you're between 130% of the poverty line and 185% of the poverty line, you get so-called reduced price meals. And then if you're above the 85% of the poverty line, you get so-called full price. But that's a misnomer because even those are subsidized by the federal government. Under the universal school meals, we're using a federal provision to basically say every kid, regardless of family income, gets a free meal without extra paperwork. And by the way, 70% of the kids in New York City public schools are free or reduced price eligible.
For sure.
Okay. So I'm Joel, I'm Executive Director of the New York City Coalition Against Hunger. I'll rattle through our programs I really want to talk about to give the answer to this. By and large, we don't do food distribution. We leave that up to the soup kitchens and food pantries and City Harvest and the food bank. Our only exception is we run a small community-supported agriculture program where we bring fresh produce into some low-income neighborhoods and accept SNAP benefits and subsidize that to prove that the reason low-income people aren't eating better is that they can't afford it and it's not available. We want to prove that if you build it, they will come. And we've proven how I got these things. Honestly, that if they just screw everything from themselves from scratch, if they just got more cooking instructions or nutrition, as if it's their fault, so that there's something culturally wrong with them, they just don't know. We've disproved that thoroughly. We also do a lot of SNAP outreach, helping families access SNAP and food stamps. We're working ever more closely with HRA on this than we ever have before. Do a lot of work on school meals. The breakfast, I think, is a huge victory. It means 300,000 kids a day eventually are going to get this 180 school days out of the year. I visited one school in the Bronx where PS 18 in the Bronx, before this breakfast, they were serving 200 breakfasts a day. Now they're serving almost 500. And so just over the course of 1 year in one school, that's going to be 50,000 extra meals for kids. We have an initiative here and nationwide, and we actually do work nationwide now called the Ending Hunger Through Citizen Service. And you can go to our website, hungervolunteer.org. We're trying to redefine the way people volunteer to fight hunger, saying it's nice showing up on Christmas and Thanksgiving. It's nice doing a food drive. And yes, I would say the vast majority of groups would much prefer cash. It's even better to use your professional skills. If you're an accountant, help with your accounting. You work if you're a nutritionist, help with that. If you're a designer, help design something. Oh, and by the way, the most important thing any American can do is advocate for improved public policies, which I'll get back to. We also have an AmeriCorps National Service Program here and nationwide, which made us sort of a domestic Peace Corps that engages people for a year, very low paid anti-hunger work. We also use those folks over the summer to work with the city on summer meals outreach. Another important thing we do, because 80% of the kids in New York City who get school lunches during the year do not get summer meals, because you just don't have that captive audience. And now we run the National Hunger Hotline on behalf of USDA, where we can take calls from around the country. We don't publicize it too much in New York City because the city is actually doing a pretty good job on that. But we're probably best known for our research, our advocacy, and our communications. Because the analogy I often give, some of you may have heard it already, we used to fight fires with buckets, one bucket at a time. It made us feel great. Only problem is the city's burned to a crisp. And while your agency's doing a great job, and WISP is doing a great job, the Food Bank's doing a great job, the City Harvest is doing a great job, they're just one little bucket. And the way we ended fires burning down whole cities in America is replaced volunteers with professionals, we replaced antiquated technology with modern technology, and we had government fire safety laws saying you can't build buildings out of straw or kerosene, dipped, paper mache, whatever they used to build buildings. I don't know, you read, oh, the city burnt down like in a day. It was something, but we don't do that anymore. And I go travel around the country and I ask even very conservative audiences, if your house was on fire, which would you prefer, a volunteer bucket brigade or a professional fire department? And then the most tea-laden part of the country, no one ever says, Tea Party-laden part of the country, no one ever says, oh, when it comes to my house, I prefer the volunteers. And that's why we have so much hunger in America and New York. We've sold the country on the myth that uncoordinated, underfunded volunteer groups can somehow do the job of a failing economy and a failing social service safety net. A little more on the SNAP cuts. Two things happened at once. Number one, Congress cut the benefits. But number two, the caseload has gone down a few 100,000 people in New York City. We're working with HRA to study this. Marginally, maybe some of that may be good if people actually got jobs and or raised their income. But the truth is, the lines at your agencies have not decreased. The number of people going to homeless shelters has not decreased. The poverty rate in New York City has not decreased. We just ran the federal food insecurity numbers for New York City, which are very, very similar. The number of people going to pantries and kitchens and using food bank food, about 1.4 million people. So if stuff was getting better and fewer people needed SNAP, I'd say hallelujah, what a policy success. But that's not what's happening. So there are complicated reasons we think why the rolls are going down. But when you combine the decrease in the rolls with the cut in the benefits, that means that New York City today is getting $500 million less. $500 million less than 4 years ago from the federal SNAP program. How much does the city spend on pantries and kitchens between DOIC and Israel? Maybe 15 million? Okay, 15 million in city funding compared to 4 years ago, the federal government was spending $3.5 billion on SNAP. Now it's about $3 billion. And the food economy in New York is roughly about $30 billion. So SNAP funding at its peak was more than 1 in 10 food dollars in all of New York City. And that's why we focus on the big ticket items. So what can you do? Certainly we support everything else people here said today. We should certainly fund, city, state, and federal government should certainly support home delivery meals. The city should certainly step up to the plate to do more to fund pantries and kitchens and the food bank and City Harvest. HIPNAP should certainly be funded at our higher level, and federal government should fund these things more. But we need a serious entitlement safety net that really works. SNAP not going down because people may have gotten a penny over their eligibility limits, but really ramped up. The WIC program, the only major federal nutrition assistance program that's not an entitlement, even though we had the worst recession in decades, stayed flat. It's actually gone down the last few years because of money. Problems, and we need to immediately raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour and index that to inflation so we don't have this ridiculous debate. And just for people who say we don't have the money, I'll just close with 3 quick statistics. The 400 wealthiest, and I'm a capitalist, my grandparents came here as refugees, and they built a better life for myself. And the kid, my mother came here 2 months old. She wouldn't like to have this country didn't take her in as a refugee just this time. Issue there. So I believe in capitalism, but right now in America, the 400 wealthiest Americans have over $2 trillion net worth. The entire U.S. budget deficit is maybe $670 billion. So the 400 wealthiest Americans have 4 or 5 times the entire U.S. budget deficit. Here in New York City, the 57 wealthiest New Yorkers have a combined net worth of over $200 billion, or about 4 or 5 times the entire city budget. Pays for every park, every social service, everything. And so when I'm told, oh, Joe, we just don't have the money. Hunger costs our society nationwide $167 billion a year. I've calculated we hit end of 35. Our new undeclared war in the Middle East, $64 billion this year. That equals 128 years of all federal funding for the summer meals program. So we told we can't afford it. And honestly, Senator Gillibrand's been a leader on this. Most of our elected officials have voted right. Senator Schumer talked to him about did vote for a farm bill with these cuts. He said it would have been worse without him, perhaps. But I say, people here may agree with us, but are they leaders on this? Are they getting on the floor and saying, instead of the latest Sunday press conference on how some consumer fraud with someone's credit card, are they really focusing on low-income issues? I don't know. We have a unified front, even in the supposedly good New York. To do that. So first and foremost, I ask we all need a unified front in getting our elected officials to not just vote right, but make this a leadership priority. And if the other side's going to say, no way, no how, will we ever pass a budget where the billionaires have to pay a penny more? When I say our elected officials say, no way, no how, are we going to pass a budget that's further cutting food from the loneliest and most vulnerable leaders? That's my grant.
Christian capitalist.
Look, someone I was on TV show this, oh, you're radical. I said, I want to go back to what Bob Dole, you may remember, was so conservative. He was placed on the Republican ticket in 1976 as the conservative balance that horrible liberal Gerald Ford. And Bob Dole is the father, one of the fathers of the modern nutrition assistance safety net. Today, he could win a vote in a Republican primary. So I just want to go back to common sense capitalism where people got paid for the work they did. And you asked about whether you should apply for funding or not. My group, when I started 14 years ago, we spent a lot of time providing small pantries and kitchens technical assistance to apply for these programs. But most of these programs are not entitlements. There's a set amount of money. And so the harsh reality is if you got a grant, that just means WISC is getting less. And not a single extra person is being fed. And that's why we don't do it anymore as great as your work is. And that's why we focus on entitlement programs that we sign people up for SNAP while people get food.
It's very interesting because the net gain issue that we're talking about in housing, would be monetary in housing. What's going to be the net gain? It's going to be citywide somewhere, but it's a net gain precept. Are we feeding more people regardless of how much you're getting? You get this much this year, you get next year. The level of people that are being fed is constant. It's not high. The number of need is high, but are we necessarily meeting that?
Well, and I will say this is the first time in modern American history. We've been measuring poverty since 1959. Is a question. We've only been measuring hunger since 1995, and that's a whole other story. Conservatives in Congress prevented USDA from even measuring hunger because they didn't want to know. But this is the first time in modern American history where an end of an efficient recession has not resulted in a significant reduction of poverty. Nearly 6 years after the end of the official recession, and the poverty rate and the food insecurity rate for New York City is still as high as the depth of the recession in 2008, 2009. And I refuse to accept that this is the new normal, that we just have to accept 1 in 5 people in the richest city in the history of the world have this problem. And when you mentioned housing, there's no question that if you fix wages and you fix housing, you fixed it and made it wages truly real and housing truly affordable. In my judgment, you fixed 60-70% of the hunger problem in New York City.
Thank you. In short,
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cecile Noel, and I am the Executive Deputy Commissioner for HRA. The view from going last is Joe has said everything. Everyone else has said everything. So I'm going to be really short, but I'm going to tell you, I oversee a number of programs for HRA, and I'm going to tell you about the two that pertain to this particular issue. The first of, I think as all of you know, HRA is the Mammoth Agency and Social Services. We do all of public assistance benefits. We do cash assistance that you know of, SNAP, which Joe mentioned, Medicaid, and a whole host of other programs that are under this big HRA umbrella that you might not know. And so I'm going to start by telling you about EFAP, which is where we start, right? The Emergency Food Assistance Program. The Emergency Food Assistance Program is over 30 years old in this city, founded by advocates really pounding down doors and saying the city has to do something. We can't just depend on the federal government. The city has to do something to respond to hunger within the city. And they, out of their advocacy, really gave birth to what is now EFAP and continues to grow. EFAP has a budget right now of a little over $11 million. And with that, we fund over 500 feeding programs across the city. So in conjunction with our partner, food bank for the city of New York, we buy food, we send it to the food bank gets it out on their trucks to everyone. So any program in the city that's an EFAP program is getting not only TFAP, they're getting EFAP, they're getting HIFAP, they're getting lots of food that makes up that pantry bag. It's not only one provider, it's not only one entity that's funding this, it's all of us together making that bag whole. All of the products that are put out by EFAP meet the New York City food standards, so our nutrition standards is all shelf stable, and we have some frozen food products now, but they all meet the nutritional guidelines. Which, if those of you who know the EFAP program maybe 20, 25 years ago, you might not have said that. But we really have moved forward to make the standards of the food that's distributed through the pantries that we support nutritionally wholesome and good, and lots of wonderful products that are done there. EFAP also provides administrative grants to help support programs for non-food items. So for pantries, for an example, it would be bags. It might help with the light and the gas for the times that they are serving in soup kitchens. It's the plates and forks and all of those disposable items that we also fund or we give grants so that the programs can buy these items, and they don't have to dip into their food allocation to do that. EFAP provides an allocation twice a year to each of these programs. So every 6 months they get a new allocation, and that allocation is good for the 6-month period, and the food bank delivers all the products to them. In this particular community, we have 12 EFAP programs. These 12 programs have a budget of a little over $200,000 and serve on average around 2,100 individuals. Now this could be duplicated, but there are 21,000 individuals coming into these programs regularly in any given point in time. Our West Side Campaign is one of the programs that we fund. So there are all of these programs that are within the rubric. And again, everyone has told you a little bit about how this network really works. The food bank is our partner. City Harvest is our partner at another level. Joe is certainly our partner. We'll talk about that, and I will talk about that in just a moment. But we're partners in making sure that the safety net is really there for those who desperately need it and can come in and get food when they need it. A part of what I'm also over is the SNAP outreach component, not the operations that does the actual processing and determination of benefit, but the outward-facing piece of SNAP, which is the piece that goes into the community and talks folks about SNAP, talks about their eligibility, and will help to enroll. And we do that with Coalition Against Hunger. We do that in partnership with the food bank. We do that in partnership with many, many organizations across the city. We have moved forward to do facilitated enrollment. So many of our providers who are also soup kitchens or food pantries are now also processing SNAP applications. So anything that is absolutely phenomenal. You don't need to send anyone to the center. You go to one of these locations, you can actually sit down, they will help you, they will take all your documents, they will process this application and send it off to HRA. And no one ever has to go into an office again. And we hope that soon no one will ever have to go on, that we will really disseminate this facilitated process everywhere it can possibly be, so that elderly folks in the community, those who need a little more assistance as well as those who don't, can actually go into a community location, feel comfortable, feel service, and actually get what they need, which is to be able to submit a staff application. So we're very happy about that, and to the degree that you have other locations in your community where you think that this might be a benefit, we'd love to know about it, because we'd love to bring it to your service areas. In 2015, Snap Outreach did 15 community events within Community 47. Within that, a lot of them were at Goddard Riverside, Jossa West Side, Bloomingdale Library, Ryan's Community Center. So we've done that, and we also do 2 CBO sites. Those are sites where HRA staff actually go and sit and take the application and process those applications. And when HRA takes the application, you don't need to do another interview. When you do a CBO application, the only thing that the applicant has to do is wait for a phone call so that they can actually do the interview over the phone, which we think is outstanding. HRA does over 1,000 of those SNAP outreach visits or presentations a year, where we're enrolling in pre-screen, talking about the benefits of SNAP. We truly believe that being able to have EFAP as a safety net is very important, but it's also really, really important to ensure that we enroll folks who are eligible, who really get them the benefit that they need on a regular basis, and to whatever degree that we can help to partner with this community by ensuring that that's happening within the community, we'd love to do that. So,
the recertification for this map, would that also be able to?
yes, you can do the research, and we roll that out through the closed enrollment pages.
The part about it is sort of systems. It used to be that when you recertify, it was like a brand new application, and you had to fill out everything again. And now through the system we're using, it's basically pre-populated. It's basically you have to just change what's changed, which is a big advance.
And just to echo a little bit on what Bill has said, and you can also do it from home. Access NYC right now is a wonderful tool. You can use it from your laptop, from anyone's laptop. You can go in, sit down, fill out the applications, and then all you need to do is submit the documents to us. And so, again, I think we as an agency, HR as an entity, is really pushing the envelope to ensure that we're breaking down these walls of you need to come to a center to apply. And I think eventually our goal is to be able to have you apply for cash on as well. So not that, if you need to come to the center, you can, but we certainly don't want to be the center to be the only place that you can go to access that.
Maybe we can have on our website the link to access, and that's it.
Yes.
And specifically say what we can.
Now, this may be a little nuanced, that I'm not an educator, myself, schools decades ago. But when we run these school lunch programs and breakfast, and so I pay attention to these things, there's a new argument now when the start time is clearly, and so the getting up, so similar to 8:30 or earlier start time, correct? None of the issue at home. So if that's changed through the mispractice and they just start with lunch.
I'll say a few things. There's a lot of research now. Americans of all incomes no longer sit down at the breakfast table and have full breakfast. It's more common people grades. They might have a apple at home, and it's absolutely exacerbated for low income young people. And in New York City, there's plenty of others that just aren't eating breakfast. So, right now, about 2/3 of the kids eating school lunch in New York City do not eat school breakfast. And out of 50 big school districts, 53 big school districts in the United States, New York City is 52nd place. Second to the worst, or one year we were worst. That's one of the reasons we helped convince the mayor and city council they had to do something dramatically different. So why don't kids eat breakfast? Part of it's the time issue, and frankly, timing for school meals is all mucked up anyway, so kids are having lunch at 10. And it's, you know, look, I don't know about you, I often design my days without my meals. And we all understand this for us. Why, when it comes to education, meals are like sort of scrunched in between everything else. It makes no sense to me, but that's the reality. And for many school breakfasts, you have to show up ultra early, and parents are working, and you know, etc. It's very difficult to do. You don't know whether the kids are super. That's number one. Number two, lunch has stigma, if you sort of kind of know about the forms, but breakfast has far more stigma because only the poor kids were showing up, and that's, we think, the prime reason why participation was so low. And that's why we think in-classroom breakfast is such a breakthrough. In other places that have done it before, big cities, Houston, Chicago, LA, no one's quite as big as New York City, but big places have done this, not just Mayberry. You know, it's worked because every kid gets the breakfast regardless of income, and the kids show up on time to get the breakfast. In a pilot school, principal told me in the Bronx they used to have 55 kids a day come to school late. Now they have 5. But you know, part of it's the overcrowding issue, but part of it's we just have universally put food at the centerpiece of planning. Not only for this, for urban planning, for everything else. If you know the old video game Sin City, one of the first video games you can do urban planning. You guys probably urban planning once here. You can plan everything in Sin City, where the libraries can be, where the stadiums, where the theaters can be, and there's nothing on food. And so it's just a broader issue than urban.
Let's just say we have schools with 5 schools within schools, so they have to plan separate lunch periods, so 10 o'clock can be lunch. Now, that's not so bad for the kid who didn't have breakfast, okay, but that we can't depend on that. Number one, like, going back to my own experience, and why I think universal can, where I grew up, a principal in South Bronx, television media school. I'm talking about my own experience, okay? They had G-Lunch. Okay, that is brownish tickets, and if you could not afford to pay for lunch, you had to get on a separate line, and everybody, so at one point things were bad, so I remember standing with the head into the wall, everyone stood with the head into the wall, and the food we received was different than the other food. The only positive was we got ice cream on Friday, which no one else got, but it distinguished us too. So it was a terrible embarrassment, and kids are sensitive, and the older they are, the more sensitive they are about how they appear and what shows their economic status. So the fact is that nutrition is bad overall, so that should be enough reason to feed every child who we can have. If you don't have a solid breakfast function for the morning in school, okay, if you don't have, when I was a teacher, served water during the morning and during the afternoon, because I learned about hydrating the brain. So if you've gone for 2.5 hours sitting in a room, you know, how are you expected to keep your mind going and everything going? There's some also used to do exercise, have the kids stand up and do exercise, because every study showed that physical movement led to this. So there's so many issues involving children, but as Joe says, there's no talk about it. There's no research that's been done that is mentioned in discussions.
Can I just ask Joe, you're saying there's universal breakfast?
No. Well, to be technical, there are 2 different issues. The universal, in our wonkish speak, means whether every kid is theoretically eligible for or without food. Okay, and so Bloomberg actually started universal school breakfast, where they weren't collecting paperwork and basically saying any kid of any income could show up and get it because of these other problems people were getting. And so the push for universal lunch is to basically say any kid regardless of income can get it. And I won't get too complicated about these new federal provisions that basically increase the reimbursements for New York City, and there's a complicated debate over the use of Title I education funds, but frankly, I'm not sure that the city even understands correctly on what they're doing. Oh, I'll say this part. I grew up in Rockland County, New York, about 20 miles north of here. I played very, very mediocre JV soccer. I saw more of the bench than I ever did in the field. It was shocking. I was better on the debate team than on the soccer team. But they gave me a free jersey because they decided this was part of the educational experience. Why? a jersey for a mediocre riding soccer player is more important than school meals and beyond me. That's our national priority.
You mentioned also middle schools, that there are middle schools now getting universal free lunch.
That's
So
where they.
my question is basically, where are we on all these different?
So it's hard sometimes getting the data, but 2 years ago, the mayor and the council announced that there's a pilot project in freestanding, middle schools, junior high schools in New York City. They were going to do the universal school lunch, and they've announced in freestanding elementary schools they're going to do the universal school breakfast. Certainly, I'd say breakfast makes sense to start first for elementary schools. It's easiest to do. The kids most need it. And we take the same decision you. We can afford to do both. You can chew down the walk at the same time. We can serve breakfast.
So right now you're serving elementary school breakfast and junior high school lunch.
Well, let me be clear. Again, every public school in New York City theoretically serves both breakfast and lunch. This is a question of how they serve it and how they do the accounting and whether they collect paper.
So there are some schools in which eligibility requirements are still determining people's access to food, essentially. And so sometimes to make it more clear about, particularly on the lunch end, is who's not getting the universal lunch. So if you attend a school by freestanding or standalone, we mean schools that have grades 6 through 8. If you are K through 12, you are not getting this universal free access. If you are K through 8, you are not getting this universal access. If you are 6 through 12, you're not getting this universal access. So that is still a very small fraction of middle school students. So you can be a middle school student and not be amongst the students that we're discussing right now. So
Middle schools.
just standalone middle schools that are just schools that are 6 through 8.
And they're getting lunch.
They're getting the universal paperless lunch.
Yes. The no paperwork, less stigma. We're not, the kids aren't worried about everybody's getting it. So it doesn't, no one knows that you have a special colored ticket or a special form to fill out. No one knows any of that. So there's no stigma. You're just going to eat when it's time to eat.
And it's not to overcomplicate it, but it's really to be clear on what is available right now, because there are the nuances.
And the federal government, Congress should be considering the reauthorization of these programs, the child nutrition bill that they keep punting.
So we got to see what's going to happen on December 11th.
I presume they're going to pass some continuing resolution that's going to basically continue these programs.
Yeah, I want to go back to this policy. Are there barriers or thresholds that local organizations, whether faith-based or not, have to meet before you get support for the existing food program, a proven food program? So I have to. So
For
what says that is it by choice that a private organization or private church would not access?
They would readily access it on the covers of the shows finding out, so that there's some approval for that money. But the main drawback for us is simply having the scalable solution that would warrant the funding.
That's my question.
We don't have the storage for the food to warrant it. We don't have the there's a lot of things we don't have in place.
So if you're really asking about EFAC, which is the funding agency, one, we have some guidelines, and one, you must have some other source to come to us. We accept applications year round, but you have to be already, even if it's donated, you have to have it. You have to have appropriate storage area. You have to have consistent hours of service, and you have to be open regularly. So that if you're saying that I can only open once a month, well, for EFAC, that would not work.
Twice a week.
Or twice a week, okay. So you have to have consistent hours of service, and you have to have some other funding sources also funding. Because it could be donated, it could be food bank, it could be city harvest, and it just must be something else along with that, so that you can actually give a complete, healthy nutritional bag. Because EFAC doesn't provide everything, but between some of the other funding entities, you can certainly do that. And EFAC does accept applications year round, unlike some of the other programs that really will only take it once a year. You have to apply it this time and you can't apply until the next year. We have an ongoing application process. So if you'd like to apply for EFOP,
You give technical assistance. don't you?
yes, we do.
And so,
Yes, we
for
do.
example,
We do give some technical assistance, absolutely.
We have enough brains to do the rest, but, you know. can
We
get
will
better.
help them apply for other funding as they become available, so as the applications open up. So if it's FSAP, which is the Emergency Food Shelter Program, we will help a program understand that that's available, what is, filling out the application and applying for that as well. And I know that the food bank does that as well. They have a very robust program. I have programs.
So I want to say thank you. And if somebody wanted to become a member of Food Bank, there's an application process. You have to be in existence for at least 3 months without Food Bank. And then we go through the process with you. It's handled through our member agency department. And then they are able to see if it's the need in the community, it's the same thing. It's the regular hours, it's the storage. We go in, we follow guidelines, we make sure all the regulations are met, and then can help whether to see if there's other funding sources, how to help apply, and to do that for members as well.
But we generally do not encourage new agencies to start. I know for a long time you weren't either, and I assume that's the case. It depends on the neighborhood. And I know for a while you had a complex system figuring out whether the neighborhood was underserved. But in general, my personal belief is there are probably too many agencies citywide, vast majority of which aren't resourced enough. And we probably need marginally fewer, better spread out among the whole city, and better resource. And keep in mind too that these programs are potential. They happen to be great programs here because there was a bigger problem 30 years ago. And as great as WISCA is doing with a job, and they are one of the best programs in the country, I would argue that people in Washington Heights would far prefer a high quality program in Washington Heights.
Which is exactly why we're going to have our mobile food pantry, which is also going to be customer choice and very much raising awareness of our brand. So
But to talk to the people for home delivered meals in New York City, there was hundreds of agencies that did Meals on Wheels before, and it restructured and consolidated. And so from hundreds of agencies doing the work of Meals on Wheels, it came down to 31 agencies right now doing the traditional Meals on Wheels. And we found that being able to do that, resources at city meals level is better allocated, and the scale of the operations. We do have a program, my smallest program is 70 clients, 70 meal recipients, but our largest meal recipient home delivered meals program is 1,600 in the Bronx. So at that scale, things flow a little bit better.
These programs are going through other agencies.
Yes, we fund them at community-based organizations like Carbons.
But we're subcontractors of the bigger agency.
Yeah.
And what's happened to the plan? I know there was a discussion about whether to provide more frozen meals so that be more efficient,
So,
but have less personal interaction with the citizens.
so right now, the options available, we have hot, chilled, and frozen meals. When people have, I really wish we could offer therapeutic meals or cancer or meals. We have to pilot the studies, but at this point in time, it's cost prohibitive. If someone is at that point in need where they need that nutritionally for their well-being, I normally would refer that individual to God's Love Food Deliver to see if that's another charity who's in the process to see if they can offer that nutrition that person needs. But our meals right now are hot, chilled, and frozen. We have worked with DIFTA and the community-based organizations. They keep the option open, and that's what I personally like about our network. It's at that local level, the decision to make their organization offer hot, chilled, or frozen. Some organizations, just because of the way operations are run, frozen is more better for them. However, I don't have a single agency that only does frozen. They do a variety of all, either chilled and frozen or hot, chilled, and frozen, but there's always a variety. And normally the frozen meals are going to those meal recipients who have so many doctor's appointments that they can't be at home every single day for that meal delivery. So they'll deliver twice a week or 3 times a week to make sure they receive that meal in order for them to continue visiting their doctor on the schedule that they're supposed to. But we really look to the expertise of our community-based organizations to let us know what serves the community best. And having that option, having that flexibility, I think is a benefit to our new recipients.
If you don't mind, I'd like to just make a quick statement about the difference between Alistair's program at West End Presbyterian, West Side Campaign Against Hunger. I mean, Alistair's program is a small operation that serves the local community where people can use it as an entry point. Whereas something like WISCA is providing all sorts of background services that help people get out of the situation or deal with situations with housing, with food stamps, with
Healthcare.
job training. Just there's a whole range of things that Alistair's program can't offer. I mean, it would be a huge drain of resources or a huge need for resources to put something into that. But in the meantime, something like Alistair's program does pull people in from the community, and it also serves people that are in the midst of all these problems and able to come in and get some sort of additional food that they might need in the middle of the month from not being able to get food. So there's a need for both of them, but it's just that Alistair's program is a tiny program.
Yeah, our program is about awareness and referral as much as anything else.
Thank you all so
Wow.
much.
Wow.
I appreciate you coming in. Thank you for having me. It's really rich and nourishing.
It's nourishing, right?
I'm going to give you the floor. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, which way are you heading?
How you getting today?
What?
I need to get my steps in to begin.
You go uptown or downtown?
We started.
Huh?
Yeah, we started outside.
You should take some of the way with me. Just one.
We don't talk about the resolution.
Is there anybody
So they really do it.
I hear them and I wholeheartedly support it, so. Yes, you know, I agree with you.
For us, it's a money issue. I wish I could give more money, and, you know,
No, I read that. I read it.
thank you so much for your
Yeah. Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh, serious? Okay. Great, great.
I know.
Yeah. I see you paint double.
Okay, so mine, how old are you?
I just have to be in the area.
All right, so just for the HR
I wish I could have.
So actually, I've got a few calls right now. I was like, can you please make sure that the meals are canceled tomorrow because I don't want the consequences. Because some agencies do the wellness check, so they ask the local police by the end of the day, and no one can get attention anymore, right? So the police officers will, please make sure that the meal's canceled because it's happened so many times. And I'm like, okay, well, as soon as possible, make
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks so much. You should sign up to the helicopter campaign if you can. Do you have a Twitter account? Okay, great. So I can send you information tomorrow. Great. Thank you so much for your support. That's like it.
They don't want to know. Okay?
Yeah. So she needs my help and I
Various issues, because people don't want to do it, they have no idea. So I said, why don't you? Well, we could ask you, but if I did, because we had some of that stuff on the website. Thank you. No, pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I wish I found that.
Yeah, I was going to see her later. No problem. I'll be extra one. Yes. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Nora?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we just want to vote on that resolution. Sure. You have. Absolutely. Absolutely. Already sent copies. I have my edits. Okay. Well, those in favor? What?
Yeah, you did, right?
Okay. We just want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay?
All those opposed? 0. That's a 6. Is everybody here? Any of the business besides this?
I'm sorry, I ran out.
There you go. So just keep them going. You can actually, it's a great time to start like that.
It is.
We're adding over 100.
It should be, noted in the minutes, the match was setting.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. But that's usually what's supposed to do. Actually, got this organized.
So no new business?
That's the,
So, is there any other business, and anything more that you want to come down to see Monday?
So, I'm your turn then?
Yes.
Okay, good. You ready? Ready? That's a new one. That's the access.
Know what most people want. As I said, we always put that hunger as our first priority for the different district needs. We never have facts to do or what to do. So, specific.
Alice there is on the West Side Federation board. So, something very well. It does a lot of good stuff.
Yes, and I felt like he was almost in the way to the work of what he did. He does so much. It's
So local.
all volunteers.
Absolutely.
Nobody's funding.
Right. And it's a local initiative, and local initiatives are very often ignored. You know, there are things going on in most of churches,
Thank you, Laura.
and there are, Laura has a program.
Yeah, but now they're stopping. They're going a lot of senior programs.
Right.
So they're going to combine mine with K-30.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll work out.
Who's distributing, bags of, food.
So I told the people they're willing to come over. It's like you black over those out there. So they already been back on the table. So hopefully we can calm and I can work together with that.
Okay.
That's what I'm working on.
People can work together,
Yeah,
that's the best.
we need to do that. So we put it in.
Good, right.
Yeah, I think so. Anybody else have anything else? I'm done. Anybody else have anything?
No.
Great combination of people.
Yes, we were. We were at the.
Joel was number one. I worked with him for 8 years on the community action board. He's a riot. He does amazing stuff. He's on TV all the time, speaking out.
Well, I heard him speak something that's where I think he was so passionate about this one. This breakfast.
Mhm.
It was great, and I think he put a lot of things in perspective for us. The fact that you know, the advocacy is so important.
Right.
And the keep learning, the tuition is correct. It just it's terrible.
Yep.
We didn't eat because it's bad food.
Matt, I emailed you the minutes.
Wow, that was quick.
It's good.
Oh, you already did it?
He did the minutes, he can do the hours too.
I did the best I could, but there was a lot of discussion I missed, so.
Does anybody want any more of this?
Maybe we can leave them out in the hallway on they can put them out. You know what I mean? 'Cause we have, in the hallway, we have a lot of, flyers.